Welcome to Early Access. I'm Katie Whitlock. I'm here with Rebecca. Rebecca, thank you for being here.
I'm so excited. I love talking Enneagram, so pretty stoked.
Good. Rebecca, you know a lot about the Enneagram. Can you kind of tell the people a little bit about yourself and then how you know the Enneagram, what you're doing with it, what number you are, all the things?
Yeah. Well, so my first introduction to Enneagram was a sister-in-law who was just, "Hey, have you heard of the Enneagram?" And she was kind of telling me about it. And I'm a sucker for psychology,
Yes,
and
me
that,
too.
like, my brain is obsessive of like, how do
Mm-hmm.
people work? Like, what drives people? It's just always been my nature. And so, did some tests, did some quizzes. And at first I
Okay.
was like, kind of like, I don't really get it. Like, every test was like two, two, two. Like, it was very clear, but I didn't really like resonate with like the stuff I got back. And then
Yeah.
I read The Road Back to You. I think that's like a perfect book. That's like the one I most recommend to especially
Mm-hmm.
new people to Enneagram. And I don't remember what specific part. And I felt this deep, I would describe it now as shame
Yeah.
of holy shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to know this about me.
Yeah.
I don't want other
Shut.
people to know this about me. Like, all of a sudden I had this like almost revulsion of like, I'm found out.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even know this about myself. And I tend to this, well, I'm sure we'll talk about this. I tend to think I'm so self-aware.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I found the Enneagram and I was like, "Oh, I had no idea it was like this. I had
Mm-hmm.
no idea what I was up to." And, so I read more. Used Enneagram. Then I discovered my husband's type, or at least I guessed at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I started looking up like Enneagram marriage between type 2 and type 8. And all of a sudden I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh my gosh." And
Whoa.
when I tell you, it on a fundamental level shifted the way that I showed up to my relationship. And
Yes.
I'm also a coach. And so I was using it personally in my own life. And I had started to work with a more diverse group of women. And I started to recognize some of the language that I'm bringing to clients doesn't resonate with them. Their
Mm.
motives are different than mine. And I realized that like I needed a better understanding of different perspectives of
Yes.
self and the world. And
Yeah.
so I got Enneagram certified mostly because I just wanted to be able to have even more tools for supporting clients in exactly what they wanted and needed, not necessarily through my lens, but through theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of my introduction to Enneagram. So
Who are you certified through?
your Enneagram coach,
Okay. Yeah. What is her name?
Beth McCord.
Yes,
She
Beth
was great.
McCoran.
She's
She
awesome.
is great. I've heard a lot. She was
Yeah.
just on the Around the Circle podcast not
Oh,
that
that's
long ago.
awesome. I had her
Yeah,
on my
yeah.
podcast when she did a specific motherhood and Enneagram book,
Okay.
which was really great. But
Okay.
yeah,
So yeah, tell us about your motherhood stuff. You do specifically a lot of stuff around motherhood. Tell us how you got into that.
I got into that basically, through my own personal experience.
Right. Having a child.
I started the Motherhood Mentor
Mm-hmm.
because I witnessed that women really needed a space where it wasn't about parenting, it was about the parent. It was about who they were. I
Mm.
saw all these spaces and places, and when I became a mom, I was pretty young and it was a while ago, there was all of these experts telling you what to do, but no one was talking about like how you actually do that while keeping a
Right.
marriage afloat, while I was going through some pretty deep intensive healing stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, that's great about, what diapers to use or how to potty train, but like I'm going through like massive emotional dysregulation and trauma healing, and nobody's talking about that in parenting circles. So the
Right.
Motherhood Mentor was born out of supporting the woman behind the mother, who she is
Mm-hmm.
as a person, not just what she does, but at the same time, what you do and who you're in relationship with massively
Mm-hmm.
impacts your identity,
Right.
especially
Of
motherhood.
course. Right.
Um, so my work with women as a coach, and I'm now a somatic healing practitioner, which is a huge aspect of what I do, but I also use Enneagram. But a lot of it is just identity and finding who you are and who you're becoming and how you
Mm-hmm.
move through your life, how you lead, how you relate to your parenting,
Mm-hmm.
your kids, your partner, your business. A lot of the women I work with are like highly ambitious. They're very similar where they know a lot, but
Right.
they're missing these deeper kind of parts of who they are and how they're
Yeah.
showing up, especially the darker, messier parts,
Yeah.
especially the not shiny, pretty, perfect parts
Yeah.
that like they don't really match the professional persona. Or even, the women I work with tend to be pretty healthy, pretty high functioning.
Mm-hmm.
They have these parts of them that don't necessarily fit that, especially publicly, especially like
Mm-hmm.
professionally. They have these messy
Right.
parts where it's like, ooh, I don't know where that fits in. So I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist.
Right. 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 Right.
Meanwhile, it's showing up and impacting you. So,
What's an example? Like
yeah.
if you have a mom who's a 9, what's like the usual thing that they're not noticing?
Probably that passive aggressive rage.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably
That's a
that
good
like,
answer.
oh, I'm this, especially parenting, like a huge parenting thing people will come to is like, I want to yell at my kids less, or I feel like I'm like really snapping at them. And so like
Mm-hmm.
those 9s that like your body is literally trying to just take up space and show that you exist. Your
Mm-hmm.
body is trying to say like, I matter too. And if
Yeah.
you can start to create some room for how you matter and what you want and need, and sometimes that's in conflict with what your kid wants and needs,
Right.
that's a huge tension. And so like if we can find better outlets for that rage, it won't come like a, like a crock, the instant pots when you like push the top and like
Yes.
all of it comes out. It's
Psst,
like
yeah.
that passive aggressive rage. It's coming from somewhere and it has to go somewhere. And if you
Right.
don't want it to come out at your kids or your partner or even like your business, we have to find a way to figure out not just the rage, but sometimes what's underneath the rage. Because sometimes
Right.
it's that vulnerability of nobody pays attention to me. I'm paying attention to everybody else. I know what
Mm-hmm.
everybody else thinks and feels, but like I'm not actually speaking my truth. I'm not actually
Right.
speaking what I want and need and bringing my desires to the table.
Yeah. I have one story. So I've been asked to teach a parenting class at my church. I do a lot of Enneagram classes at my
Cool.
church, which is funny because I'm not a parent. I'm 26, never done anything with motherhood.
Okay.
So it is a little, not really imposter syndrome because I do know how to teach the Enneagram and that's what it
Yeah.
is. But I think people are, I just wanted to connect this to your, like, no one's talking about the parent. They're
Yeah.
just talking about like how you parent the kid. No one's talking about the actual parent.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to be surprised when they come to this class that like, oh, I'm talking about you today.
You as a
I'm not
person. And
talking about your kids. Yeah.
I was about to say that, like, as long as you walk in integrity, which you obviously are, you're teaching something that you know,
Right.
they're not just parents, they're people.
Right. They're
And
people. Yeah.
honestly, a lot of times they're so hyper fixated on their role as parent and they need someone to come
Mm-hmm.
back to like, who are you? Because
Mm-hmm.
all parenting comes from the parent.
Right.
I mean, and that's the
Right.
case for everything. You want to look at your marriage, you want to look at your career, you want to look at how you interact with your family of origin.
Mm-hmm.
You're the common denominator. So
Right.
if you address that, if you support and give you the person what you need, it will change the way you show up in those roles
Right.
through just the relating.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think
It's going to be great.
the coordinator at the church was like, is it going to be, because I have, so the next 8 Mondays in the morning, I'm going to teach parenting. And at night, I'm going to teach just a regular intro Enneagram class. She's like, is that a lot for you? You're going to have to prep 2 classes. And I was like, it's the same thing. Yeah. I'm basically going to be teaching the same thing at all of these things.
Well,
and
I've had clients who aren't mothers. And I was like,
yeah,
motherhood is my Trojan horse. Really? If you think like,
yeah,
it's the human experience, and motherhood happens to be a specific season for a lot of people.
Right.
But it's about you as a human, and all of the tools that I use, like they're not just for mothers.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. I could ask you about that all day, but this podcast is about you. So Miss Two, I guess my first question for you, I just asked about 9s. Yes. What was your thing as a mother, because you're a 2, that you weren't wanting to look at?
Oh, that's a rich one. How long do we have?
Forever.
I think especially early in motherhood. One, I was a very young mother.
How old were you when you had your first kid?
I was 1 week before I turned 21.
Okay, yeah. You were little.
I was a baby.
Yeah, you were a baby. Yeah.
And I didn't think I was. I felt very mature. I felt and I never felt immature. I never felt young
Mm-hmm.
back then, but now that I'm in my mid 30s looking back, I was like, "Oh, I was
I
young." And
love
I
the child.
don't and
Yeah.
I as I'm saying that, I remember feeling very demeaned by a lot of people because I was so
Mm.
young. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like doctors treated me different. People kind of treated me like I didn't know what I was doing. I shouldn't trust myself. I made a lot of decisions that didn't make sense to people as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest things I struggled with was that high functioning codependency. So my whole in some ways it helped me as a new mom because I was so enraptured with this baby.
Mm-hmm.
I was so obsessed with the idea of being a mom and being a wife. It was all I had ever wanted. Like if people
Right.
asked me what I wanted to be growing up, it was I want to be a mom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I got there and it was beautiful and I was obsessed with this baby, but I don't think I really knew myself before motherhood, but I that became my sole identity,
Of
my sole
course.
purpose.
You didn't have time to learn about yourself,
And then
right?
she became a toddler.
Right.
And all of a sudden I had these moments where I was really intentional about I don't want to break her will. I want to teach her to know who she is. I want to teach her
Mm-hmm.
to know consent and boundaries, and I want to teach her autonomy. And all of a sudden I was like, shit. I don't know this. Like I
Right.
don't know
Do
this.
I
I
have these
don't have a
things?
healthy relationship to my sex life and my body. How am I
Mm-hmm.
supposed to teach her?
Yeah.
And I think it was this almost kind of rude awakening of me losing myself to motherhood has meant that she doesn't have a person. Like I don't exist. Like I don't exist
Yeah.
outside of her. She
Yeah.
needs something outside of her to exist. I started
Mm-hmm.
realizing in my marriage that I had been so codependent, not even just people pleasing and fawning, but I had been
Mm-hmm.
so obsessed with becoming who I thought he wanted, who I needed to be as a wife, which a lot of it had to do with the church that I grew up in, the perception of adulthood, wifehood, being a
Yeah.
mother, kind of being this like thing that you like the highest goal you could be.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was
Yeah.
like, I have to exist.
I'm
What
here. Now
about
what?
me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really struggled knowing what do I want and need. Having needs, not just setting boundaries with bad behavior. I think in my head I always thought boundaries were like someone does something bad and mean.
Yeah.
But in that season I was experiencing this isn't good for me, or I don't like this, or I don't want this, but it's mean to tell them that.
Mm.
To even have a preference. Like that
Yeah.
like that was hard for me. It was massively uncomfortable for me. And that was probably the hardest part of being a two is I was so eager to meet them, to help them, to love
Mm-hmm.
on them. And yet like it almost was like I was ceasing to exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not that I was ignoring it. It's that like it wasn't even occurring to
Right.
me at first.
Yeah. So when I talk about twos,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things we say about twos, do you know Joey Shuey? Do you
Mm-hmm.
know her? She's Suzanne Stabile's daughter. Do you know
Oh,
Suzanne
okay. I
Stabile?
know. Yeah.
Okay. Joey Shuey has taught me a lot of what I know about the Enneagram. She has this
Yeah.
thing. She and her husband teach the non-negotiables for every number, which
Ooh.
is like there's a lot of character traits about a lot of numbers, right? And you
Yeah.
don't have to fit every single one of them to be that number.
Yeah.
But there are certain things, they call them non-negotiables. They have one for every number, where if you do not do that, you really probably are not that number, right?
Mm.
So for twos, what they teach is that the non-negotiable for twos is feeling other people's feelings before feeling your own. And I think when people who are not twos hear that, they hear, oh, twos are really good at like reading other people's emotions. But it's really like you are feeling other people's emotions, and that leaves no time to feel your own.
Mhm.
What does that feel like? Because I think a lot of people think they relate to that and they really don't. Like,
Yeah.
how deep does that go? Does it erase? Like, it sounds like it erases you because you're just replacing it.
I think that's a good way to describe it is that it erases you. And I think it's so natural. It's like breathing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy for me to feel what other people feel and I'll do it I'll do it without even catching myself. Even I'm a pretty healthy too for the
Yeah,
for the
it
most
sound I
part.
can hear
You
it
know,
already. Yeah.
we all have our range, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I tend to catch myself earlier and sooner than I used to. I'm trying to think of a good example. Here's one. Okay. I think this is 2 years ago, we
Okay.
lost our dog. It had been maybe a month.
Mm-hmm.
And they started talking about getting a new puppy. And everyone
Your
was so
family did?
excited. My family was like so
Yeah.
excited about getting a new puppy. And I was like, puppies, great. Okay, yes, of course we'd get a new puppy.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a new puppy like pretty quickly, months into having a puppy. And all of a sudden I go, did I want a puppy?
Yeah.
I don't think, and the only reason I caught it is I was getting so resentful towards my husband. And I mean
Mm.
like deep resentment where all
Yeah.
of a sudden I was like, what is wrong with me? Like we got a puppy and I am like crashing out over here.
Freaking
Like
out.
what?
Yeah. Yeah.
What? And I'm over here like I have been through a lot harder shit than how, and granted, she was a demon
Yeah.
puppy, right? She's a
Yeah.
beagle. And
Yeah. Yeah.
apparently,
Yeah.
apparently it's like common knowledge that beagles are terrible puppies. We
I
had
didn't
no
know
idea.
that. I didn't know that.
She was like, okay, so she's tiny. She's tiny and she would eat an entire sock. And then she's in pain,
Where'd
so
it
she'd be like
go?
biting or attacking people. And granted, I loved this puppy,
Oh my
but
gosh,
like
that would kill me.
it was that resentment that had it all of a sudden clicked something in my brain, and I was like, oh shit,
Something's happening.
something's happening. And I was really, really angry at my husband, and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I like sat and did some reflection, and I got coaching, and I tapped into my Enneagram stuff, and I was like, I don't think I ever even slowed down to think if I wanted a puppy. And I think I convinced myself into wanting a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the hard thing. My family, it wasn't even their fault.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
you
and
were
I
the
think
one that agreed.
a lot of twos, especially unhealthy or immature twos, we want to blame other people because we don't understand that they don't feel and anticipate our needs and what we want the way that we do
Mm-hmm.
with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the hard part, especially relationally. But for me, it does feel like it is so easy for me to empathize with other people, to support their emotions, to feel like their emotions matter when I can pretty easily accidentally forget that I have preferences.
Yeah.
Forget that I have needs, like non-negotiable needs that those don't really matter. And it's I have to catch myself earlier because like I said, I still fall into this. I still jump into that. I always laugh. I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Like
For
truly,
sure.
like the
Yes.
Enneagram Two, but it's like it's not even, oh, I feel something and then I prioritize your
Mm-hmm.
emotion. It's I feel your emotion so strongly and I start taking care of your emotions so quickly and so instinctually that I don't even have that connect, which is why I
Right.
got into somatics, which we can go into, but we don't have
Yeah.
to, of just like there's this step in between me feeling your emotions and me bypassing my own.
Mm-hmm. And talk more about that.
So what helped me, so somatic healing, it's the connection between your mind and body.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what helped is it taught me energetic and emotional boundaries. And what I mean by that is like I quite literally, and this sounds so funny to say out loud, what is you and what is me?
Yeah.
Where do I end and you begin? And this
Mm-hmm.
was very, very hard for me, especially in marriage, especially in motherhood, because it's not like these are people that I can have distance from. I don't want distance from them.
Yeah.
And yet I was
Yeah.
deeply enmeshed, deeply, deeply enmeshed. And so pulling apart the conflict and the tension between sometimes I want something different than you.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that yours is the priority. And that doesn't make
Right.
yours better than mine. And that seems so logical, but it was this felt thing where I really had to learn how to feel when my husband walks in a room and he's an 8. So like if it would almost feel like his anger or his intensity, it felt like it was hitting me. And
Like physically.
emotionally,
Okay. Okay.
he's not touching me, right?
No. Yeah. Like
So
but
let's say he has a shit day at work. He's
mm-hmm.
mad at something at work. He comes in the door. I feel it as if it's like coming at me.
Yeah.
Granted, that's a little bit of the relationality, and
Yeah.
some of it was his 8, but some of that was just like that's how intensely I feel other
Yeah.
people's emotions.
Yeah.
Um, and I've met other 2s where like you can have an emotional shift, nothing happens visually, and they go, "Hey, what's up? What's wrong?" And it's like, when I'm with them, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, stop reading my emotions. Like, leave me alone." But
Yeah.
that's how it feels to be me.
Yeah.
I can feel a shift in their emotions, but what's
Yeah.
fascinating, I'm usually the last person to know when I'm emotional. Or at least when
Interesting.
I'm really unhealthy, when I'm
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a
Because
really
you're just
ungreat
not
place.
tuned into it
It
the same way.
I have to intentionally practice and show up to, how am I?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I? When
Mm-hmm.
am I? What is it that I'm needing? What is it that I'm wanting? Especially, it can be really easy to be performative for me. And so just coming back to, where do I end? Where do I
Mm-hmm.
begin? Where do they end? Where do I begin? So that like it heals that enmeshment, that like
Yeah.
we exist separately. And that doesn't mean I can't be connected to you or empathetic or loving or
Mm-hmm.
kind, but I'm no longer this. I was such a high functioning codependent where it looked like I was really good even when I wasn't.
Yeah.
I could be burning out and running on fumes, and it looked like sometimes I would be in more control. The worse I got, the better it looked.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming into integrity, I think, is huge for 2s.
Yeah.
Like, because I think you're so often out of your own integrity and your own self-awareness because you're so hyper aware of everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's a gift,
Yeah.
but
It
under and
is.
overutilized,
Yeah.
it can be really hard. And I think if you don't have an intimate relationship with an Enneagram 2, Enneagram 2s seem so great. But
Yeah.
if you've ever had a mom or a
Yeah. My
sister
mother's a
or
two.
someone close, if you have someone close
Yeah.
to you who has been an unhealthy 2, it is so hard because so much of the like, I don't want to use the word toxic, but like so much of the unhealth is so sneaky and
Well, and
it's
they
so
work in
submersive.
shame.
Yeah.
Like they feel shame. Mom, I'm not talking about you right now if you're listening to this. I know another 2,
Yeah.
and that's all I'm going to say. But at her work, she's in charge of a lot of people. And I know that when she gets unhealthy, she does not know she does this, but she uses shame as a way to corral people
Oh, yeah.
into getting them to do what she wants them to do,
Yeah,
right?
you
So,
truly do become manipulative.
yes, you
But
do.
you don't think you're manipulative.
No, you don't.
You think you're being the savior. Or
Yes.
what
And
you're
you
doing,
think you're making people be
yes.
nice. That's what
Yes.
she would say,
You
right?
always
She's
think you're good. You really do.
mhm.
When you are unhealthy, you think you have the best of intentions. You're good. They're wrong. You know better than them.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think back to like me in early marriage, and I remember I really had villainized my husband. And I think back and think, oh my gosh, like I would have been so hard, but it wouldn't have been this easy. Like, that's where you're wrong. Versus like
Yeah.
when an 8 is unhealthy, it's very easy to be like, this is the thing you're doing.
Yeah.
But the 2 is so, it it's very toxic positivity where
Yeah,
it's
it
like it
is.
seems so good, but it's manipulative and it's
Yeah.
shaming and
Mhm.
it's corrosive and it's
It is.
truly a codependency level, I think, especially when you're really unhealthy as a
Yeah.
2.
And I think I know she would be heartbroken if she knew how people are receiving all of that she's doing because she thinks
Yeah.
she's keeping people together,
She'd be
right?
devastated, but I think
She would be devastated.
in my experience with myself, and then I've coached a lot of 2s because I think they're drawn to me, right? Because that's the
Mhm.
language I use.
Mhm.
We are in such deep shame ourselves that we can't tolerate criticism.
Right.
We couldn't tolerate it, we couldn't own it, and I think that in and of itself becomes so dangerous, especially to our closest relationships,
Mhm.
because they can't tell us how we're impacting them. They
Yeah.
can't tell us that it doesn't matter if your intent is positive. The way this feels to me is terrible.
Mhm.
I don't like it, or this isn't working for me. And I think for so many people in relationship to those 2s, yes, your heart breaks as a 2 when you start noticing this about yourself. But that shame is such a big piece for us because
Mhm.
it the as long as you stay in shame yourself, you can't help other people in the way that you want to, because you will ultimately, when you're using that as your own tool for yourself, that's the tool you use for other people, whether you want to or not.
Right. Realize it or not.
Yeah.
Right? So talk to me, what do you tell people shame is? Like, what's your Enneagram definition of like what 2s and 3s and 4s are feeling? How do you
I
say
actually
that?
would go off Enneagram here.
Okay.
My favorite definition of shame comes from David Bedrick. He does really powerful work around unshaming, and he has a book that's really incredible. He was on my podcast. He talks about shame as it is a shaming witness. So it's not an emotion and experience of itself. It's something that comes in and witnesses it. And we have to be able to witness it as like it's something inside of us, but it's a separate part. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm a parts work person, and so like I sometimes talk in this language that I'm like, does this
That's
make
fine.
sense? If you're
It
not,
does make sense. It does make sense.
So something happens, and then there's a separate witness that comes in and is shaming you, and it's not validating your experience, but it's also not responding appropriately. And the way that I work with shame with clients is we have to find a response to the shame. So I'm trying to think of a good example. And I usually have really good examples and none are coming to mind. Okay, body shame. There's an easy one.
Yep.
I'm having a moment where I'm in body shame over my body. There's a part of me that's shaming, but I'm also I'm also receiving that shame.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a voice in my head or an emotion that it's attacking and it's abusive. That word abusive is really important here, because I think guilt tells us it's like this bad, icky feeling, but you can do something about it.
Yeah.
Shame is I made a mistake, or I did something wrong, or even I'm in this body and this thing is attacking me and saying I'm wrong and broken. And sometimes it's an intellectual thing.
Yeah.
For me, what's hard, years and years ago, shame was an intellectual thing, but I think the better I got at mindset work, the better I got at bullshitting myself.
Interesting. Yep.
I'm really, really good at not ever saying or even hearing the thought. I just feel the effect of it. So like I never look at my body now and go, wow, what a fat ass. Like how awful.
Yes.
I used to, but now I just have this like, ooh, I don't like it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
But it's that shame. It's that like, I need to hide. I need to not exist. And I like crumple into myself. And the way that I combat that shame, there's two different ways. One, I talk back to it. If it is an abusive voice, it doesn't deserve an affirmation. If I'm struggling and I'm feeling a little bit of like minor insecurity or embarrassment about my body, that's one thing. If I have an abusive voice, like, would you ever let that voice talk to your friend?
Right. No.
Would you ever walk up to a woman in Target and say that to her? If a man looked at your friend and said, can she move out of the picture? She's gained 20 pounds. You would hand him his ass.
Yes, you would.
But you're accepting that shame for yourself. So you have to have, there's a boundary. There's a protective witness that needs to come in and have the appropriate response to what you're experiencing, to what you're witnessing. And so that's one way I work with shame. And I think the second way I work with shame is that having a unshamed witness. So let's say I make a mistake in my business, or I have a perceived failure in my business. I launch something and it doesn't work and it doesn't go the way that I wanted it to. And I'm feeling this deep existential shame about it. And I have to look at, okay, if I witnessed my best friend or my client go through this, I might still hold them accountable. I might still talk to them about what they could do differently. Right. That would be guilt. That would be like, ooh, this is uncomfy, but like, how are you creating this?
Right.
Shame comes in and says, you piece of shit, beats them up, makes them feel terrible, tells them not to do anything, tells them not to tell anyone. A huge part of shame is that disconnection. So I have a rule for myself that whenever I'm feeling that huge bit of shame, which I have PMDD, so when I'm luteal, like that shame comes on so strong,
I'm
like the
sure. Yeah.
unhealthy two part in me when I'm luteal. And I mean, I'm talking like last week on a Thursday. I'm not talking about years ago.
Right,
I'm
right,
talking about
right,
like,
right, right.
I
Yeah.
have all of the tools of health, but when I'm luteal, I
Mm-hmm.
go to that place. And my husband came home and I was like, tears were streaming down my face. And I just said, I feel crazy.
Yeah.
And he just gave me a big hug. And I texted my friend and I said, I feel like a bridge troll.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of letting that shame come in and say, you feel like a bridge troll and now you're a piece of shit, it was like, okay, you feel like a bridge troll.
Yeah.
You don't feel good.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
this is human. This is a
Mm-hmm.
human experience. And I think shame is so detrimental to everyone. I think everyone experiences shame. But again, like those types, it's such a driving emotion. But I also think like it's a little bit more complicated than just an emotion. Because I think some people are like, well, you just affirm it away or positive affirmation. And
Right.
it's like it's deeper than that. I think a lot
Yeah.
of times it's more rooted into our core of connection of yeah, it paralyzes us and freezes us. And so yeah.
It does. So I'm going to give you, when I'm teaching Enneagram, what I talk about when I talk about shame,
Yeah.
just in like intro stuff, right? To like help people figure out what number they are.
Mhm.
And then I'd love to hear your take on it,
Yeah.
especially if you have a critique or like if you relate to it,
Oh,
right?
I'd love to hear this.
So what I say, I just talk about what shame feels like to me, and from what I have heard other twos, threes, and fours talk about, it feels like you are constantly waiting for people to figure out who you really are. And I'm a three, so who I really am is boring and quiet. And this is not true, right? But this
Yeah.
is what my brain tells me, right? Like
Yeah.
phenomenally, phenomenally uninteresting, right? Not cool, all of these things. I would love to hear what you think your two version is. I've heard other twos say like unworthy, right? Like, of course, just who I am is unworthy. I'm just waiting for people to find that out, to figure it out,
Yeah.
right? But a three, I can outperform it, and twos we convince ourselves that you can outgive it, right? Or take care of people enough that they won't find out.
Yeah.
Do you relate to that at all?
I absolutely relate to that. I think for a lot of people, especially the more therapy and coaching or personal development you've done, I think shame becomes sneakier and sneakier. I really do. I think it becomes sneakier and sneakier. And the way that it shows up for a lot of women that I work with and myself is I am constantly and almost, even when I'm healthy, there is this awareness of the gap
Mm-hmm.
between where I am and where I think I could be or where I think I should be. And a
Yeah.
lot of times it's that perfectionistic shame where is it I think it's Elizabeth Gilbert who says like perfectionism is just shame in high heels. But I think especially when you've done a lot of healing work, you start dressing it up as
Yeah.
this pretty thing, as this
Mm-hmm.
ambition. I'm so ambitious and
Mm-hmm.
but it feels like crap. It doesn't matter how good it gets. You don't feel any better. There's no
Right.
celebration. There's no
No.
rest from it. It's like running on one of those CrossFit treadmills where
Mm-hmm.
the faster you run, the faster
Yeah.
it goes. It's like
Yes.
there's a carrot out in front of you and you're constantly chasing the carrot, but you never once eat it. For a
Right.
lot of people, that's what shame starts to look and feel like is this constant awareness of there's something better and I have to chase it. It's like
Yeah.
a version of you that isn't right now is going to be good. It's you
Mm-hmm.
never feel good enough, even though
Right.
you already have the things you said you wanted, you're on your way, you have so much evidence for what is good about you, but all you can pick out is what you're doing wrong,
Right.
what has to change. And it's like a tick. It's like
Yeah.
this, it's an intense pressure and focus on that, I think is
Yeah.
what shame often feels like and looks like.
And I've had to learn, I think people are looking for a way to make that feeling go away. And at least I'm only 26, so I have a long way to go. But as I've done this Enneagram stuff and healing stuff, like the little voice of shame that's telling me these people are going to figure out
Yeah.
that you're boring, right? Or you're quiet.
Yeah.
That has never gone away. But what has changed is I don't actually think that's bad anymore. Like, well, so
Yeah.
what if they do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I
Yeah.
actually have friends who will still like me. And I know that for sure. I'm not just telling myself
Yeah.
that. Like, I know that. Right?
So that's
So what if they
exactly
think I'm
you.
quiet?
Yeah. You talking back to the shame. So
Right.
like shame is just this witness of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helps to separate it, because I think shame is similar to grief in that it feels very all consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very hard to get out of shame. So it
Mm-hmm.
helps to be able to witness, like, it's not me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
having an experience of shame. I'm feeling it. I'm witnessing it, but like it's not an accurate description of me. And so often we have to come to integrity, because I think shame has us puffing up or shrinking down.
Right.
And it usually is not wrong,
Mm-hmm.
at least for me.
Right.
Shame usually has a piece of it that like it's a little bit true, and at
Yeah.
least a part of me believes it, otherwise it wouldn't hit so hard.
Right. Right.
And so for me, like the only way to combat shame is truth that is outside of me, truth that is like, even on my darkest, hardest days, where can I find that piece of truth
Mm-hmm.
that is so much bigger than that shame? It's like, if we can just, I think it's Brene Brown who talks about like bringing shame into the light, and it's just this moody teenager who's like scared of being found
It
out.
really is.
And
Yeah.
and it I think shame is just a part of being human, but when you stop fearing shame, when you stop shaming yourself for shame,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier to move through, and it doesn't suck you in and
Yeah.
spiral you. It's like you can have a feeling or a moment of shame, but you're not proving your worth from that place.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of I'll just say all, like, women deal with shame, right? That's something that we're brought up on, right?
Yeah.
But as someone who coaches a lot of different numbers, what do you see in 2, 3s, and 4s in their relationship with shame versus all of the other numbers in their relationship with shame? Do you see any difference in that 2, 3s, and 4s, you're fueling emotion as shame, whereas these other numbers, they can experience it? Is it different in any way?
It's a really good question. Well, I'm trying to think of all of my different people, because I have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different Enneagram types that I coach
Mm-hmm.
specifically. And that's the beautiful thing about coaching, right? Is like I know
Right.
their shame intimately.
Right. Right.
Um, I think shame plays a different part
Mm-hmm.
in each different type. I
Okay.
think she wears different clothes, but it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that, I'm thinking of my 8 clients. I'm thinking of my 1 clients. I'm thinking of like 7 clients I've had. And while I think their shame feels more outside of themselves. I think, okay, here we go. So I'm like talking through it
Yeah.
as I'm
Yep.
figuring this
Yep.
out. I think for us, it feels like shame is at the core of our bodies. It's
Yeah.
like we feel it innate in our bodies. I think
Mm-hmm.
for other people, it often feels like an external thing. For us, it feels like us. It feels like an identifying factor, and it
Right.
sounds like us. It doesn't
Right.
sound like someone else. It doesn't sound like work. Because, I'm thinking of like the difference between a 3 and a 7 who are both feeling shame about where they're at in their
Mm-hmm.
business, which is
Mm-hmm.
a common thing that happens. Or, the difference between an Enneagram 2 who's struggling in motherhood versus an Enneagram, you know, another type, not a hard
Yeah.
type.
Other types. Yeah.
It's not right there in their heart. It's not
Mm-hmm.
sitting heavy in their very heart center, which is like our main center. So it's like our
Right.
main driving energy.
Mm-hmm.
When that feels shame, whew,
Yeah.
it just permeates everything, I think.
Suzanne Stabile taught me that your fueling emotion is something you can kind of wear like a hologram, like it infiltrates like every
Yeah.
atom of who you are.
Yep.
And like you wear it differently. And she's like, shame especially, I think, does that.
Yeah.
Like
I think
it
it's so
just
close to our center. Yeah.
covers everything,
Yeah.
right? In a way, like when I talk about, I just had an interview with an 8 actually earlier today, and the way she talks about anger, I don't relate to that. I have felt angry before,
Yeah.
But the way that she was talking about, she just picks it up several times a day. She replaces other things with anger. Like when she should be sad, she gets mad. All of these things. I don't do that, but I do that with shame, I think.
Meanwhile, I'm still like trying to teach myself how, like, have I ever felt rage? Have I ever actually
Have
let
I?
myself get so angry that the anger lost
Yeah.
control and became rage? I don't
Right.
know. Like, and I think that is, yeah, the way you describe that definitely tracks with my experience and what I've seen with my clients. Yeah.
Let's talk about pride. Can we talk about pride? We kind of touched it already, but so, for anyone who doesn't know, I do this in every episode. I like to ask people about their vice and their relationship to their vice. You may have heard this as a sin or a passion or whatever you call it, but every number has something that trips them up in a way that it does not trip up other numbers. For twos, it's pride. And I'll give my definition of pride, and then I actually like to hear how you say it as well. So what I was taught about specifically pride in the Enneagram, twos do this thing where they want to take care of you, and so much to the point that an unhealthy two will make up stuff to take care of, or they'll invite themselves in when they weren't asked, or all of this stuff, right? A two gets to take care of you, but you do not get to take care of them. It is not, I don't think it's intentional a lot of times, but that sets up an inherent power dynamic in the relationship. And it also sets up a dynamic in the two of, I am the best at taking care of people, right? I know how to take care of you even more than you do, even more than this other friend does. I know how to take care of people the best. And that's what we're talking about with pride. It's like this inability to admit that maybe other people also know how to, the inability to admit that other people know how to take care of people. We'll just say that.
Yeah. Or even want to take care of you.
Or even want to take care of you. Yeah. So would you add anything or change anything about what I just said, and then tell us about what that feels like to experience that?
I think I'd start with when I first found Enneagram and I was reading that pride. I think that's the thing that made me think I can't be a two.
Right.
Like, I was looking at myself going like, I'm not prideful. Like, if anything, I'm, I mean, at this point, I was like a people pleaser.
Of course.
I was
yes.
deeply insecure. I was like drowning in shame. And you're telling me my issue is pride? Really?
I know. I think it's a little bit of a hard word because people hear ego when they hear pride.
I think you're right. But now I definitely see it, where for me, what it looks like and feels like is you are out of integrity with reality.
What does that mean?
Is what pride looks like. So I mean that and I think at least the twos that I know, it's never intentional. It's like breathing for them.
Yes.
It's that I volunteer as tribute. And what that means is like, I'm so hyper focused on what you want and need that I'm not telling the truth even to myself, that I also have wants and needs. And I'm going to pretend like I'm putting your needs first, but usually we're unintentionally trying to get our needs met by meeting your needs. We're trying to be seen by seeing you. We're trying to almost teach you how to be us, and then we hope that you do the same thing. But other people aren't driven like that. And for a lot of twos, I think that pride comes in and they will give and give and give, but they never even give people the chance to receive. I mean, for me, I can think of many relationships where I don't ask for what I want or need, especially not directly. I mean, it feels like dying. Like, I love bringing people a pretty package. That is me. I don't like in marriage. I'm not going to bring you a struggle or a problem until I actually have a solution. So if you've hurt my feelings, I'm going to preemptively have all of the fights, and then I'm going to try to bring you this thing packaged in a way that like sets us up, for example, like that sets us up for success, instead of you just bringing my raw humanity of what I need and how I feel and what's going on. I call it like my dead bird. Like, I've had to learn how to like, here's my dead bird.
That's a
And I
great
say that
metaphor.
of like, you know how cats will like bring you a dead bird and then
Yes.
they just leave it there?
Yeah.
It has become a spiritual practice for me to bring parts of myself that I don't wrap with a pretty bow, that I don't
Mm-hmm.
tie up in give some psychological depth
Yes.
of like how it's actually really healthy and positive.
Right.
It's just like, oh, I feel like shit. And sometimes
That's
that's okay.
all. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm having a crappy day and I don't have to have a validation. I don't have to have an answer. I don't even have to fix it. I think that pride is I have to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was the typology podcast. It was like the round table of twos and the title of it was God Hold My Beer. And I laughed so hard because
Yep.
I can genuinely look at other people and especially the people closest to me. And I think I learned this through coaching. And thank goodness I learned it through coaching because it was way easier to learn with clients than it was to learn with my husband or my
Yeah.
kids or my
Yeah.
friends
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like, both you and I deserve me being in relationship to you, not your potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not who I think you should be or could be.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, when I'm shaming myself, I'm also treating you as you're also not good enough. I'm
Yeah.
treating you out of shame. And I think that ultimately is pride, is it's this, I'm going to keep as far away from the dark, messy, crap parts of me so that you don't see them, so much so that I don't see them. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing that's misunderstood with twos, especially when we start using the word manipulation.
Yeah.
Twos would never think that they'd
No.
intentionally manipulate people, but that's how deep and existential it is for twos. Truly, that pride is that you will tend to so over associate with others that you won't even pay attention to it. And
Yeah.
I think that's why it becomes so important for twos to have spaces where they can't or they don't take care of anybody,
Mm-hmm.
where someone doesn't need you. Having relationship when other people don't need something from you, or you stop pretending that they're asking you to meet that need.
Right.
Like
Right.
they don't even want your help.
Right.
They don't
What
need it.
does
They're
what
capable of doing it.
what does that look like? Like a space
Yeah.
like that, actually. Like in real life, if someone's listening to this, they're like, I'm a
Yeah.
mom, I own my own business. Where
Yeah.
the hell am I gonna go that nobody needs me?
Yeah.
Like what does that
I mean, frankly, for me, it's literally paying a coach to say, I have this space where literally you need nothing from me. And in
mm-hmm.
fact, I pay you. It's your job for me to come here and just bring all my shit. Not
Right.
prettied up, not pre-solved. And
Mm-hmm.
that's so important. And I think especially as a mom, but even when you're not a mom, I think twos and even some of the other heart types, or I even know nines or sixes, like there's a lot of types like this where
Yes.
I think leaders are like this. You walk into a room, you see a gap, you see a need, you see something, you see a potential, and you automatically go, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's this high functioning codependency where you are picking up more than what is yours.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of health to this. And then there's a certain level where you start creating relational dynamics that you co-created,
Mm-hmm.
where you don't reciprocate from other people because you give off the vibe, I need nothing from you. I've got
Right.
this. And I think that happens especially for leaders. And I think motherhood is just an example of leadership because I think
Yeah.
this can happen in work. I think this can happen in your family where you become the go-to, where you never get to just be a girl or a boy.
Yeah.
You never just get to be you. And
Mm-hmm.
so finding rooms with people who don't need something from you. And I think that can look like finding a room of peers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I personally love coaching. I love therapy. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I keep doing that in my life is I need a space where like you don't need something from me. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have, I can't ever think of a time, even now in my healthy state, I have a really hard time with my husband truly getting to that really raw, vulnerable edge where I'm not preemptively thinking through everything I say and how
Yeah.
it may or may not hurt you.
Right. Right.
Like that feels intolerable for me to
Yes.
say something that I need that I know is going to hurt you and not
Mm-hmm.
just like hurt your feelings because I'm not people pleasing anymore, but like
Right.
that raw truth where like I get to need
Will
something
pierce
that's
you. Yeah.
inconvenient and
Mm-hmm.
in tension or in conflict as a mom, even just like as a sister, like there's so many different areas in life where this shows up. So I think coaching is beautiful, but I think outside of that, I would say a peer group, like specifically looking for people in your life where you say, we can be reciprocal. I'm allowed to be needy and you're allowed to be needy, but neither of us is. I'm thinking of my mastermind group where all of the women who are coming to the table, they are so secure in themselves that even when they come to the room needy, they're not asking you to pick up their shit.
Mm.
They've got their stuff. They don't
Yeah.
need, they don't want you or
Yeah.
need you to over
To
help
help.
or give.
Yes.
They just need you to be there. They just need
Yeah.
that side by side peer room where they can share, we can brainstorm, we can help without over giving or even just over receiving. Like there's not a vortex of need. But I think those spaces are hard to find and they're hard to create too.
Yeah, they are.
Like
Yeah.
finding a
Yeah.
true room of peers, because in order to do that, and if you're a two listening to that, you have to be mean.
Yeah.
Not
That's what
openly.
I was going to say. You have to show
Yeah.
up and then be
You're,
willing
you
to
will
feel
feel
uncomfortable.
you will feel like a mean girl because
Yes.
it is inclusive in that you are excluding people.
Yeah. Yep.
You are saying
People
this
have to be
room,
healthy enough
yes,
to show up.
yes, and that's an uncomfortable thing because you don't want to make anyone else feel that shame that you feel.
Right.
So you unintentionally say everyone's always welcome. And by doing that, you're lying to yourself and other people that there are some people who are not your peer.
No. Yeah.
There are some people who cannot have these conversations about your life at the same space and the same conversational level that you want to have them
Like
at.
depth. Yes.
And so that's why I use that word peer. And I think for twos, that's very hard because your pride will unintentionally set you up in relationship to people that you get to pretend you're better than.
Yeah.
But the shitty thing about that is then you don't get to be with someone who challenges you, who makes you better, who makes you grow. And here's the thing. You might be in relationship to people like that, but because you are living out of pride of I'm better than them, essentially, like you think you know more.
Yes. Yeah.
You're missing out on learning from them. Yeah. Like the people you're villainizing, they might be the people that you can learn the best from.
Right. Okay. That was great. Here's my last question that I ask everybody. Okay. How old you're 34?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You go back 10 years, you're 24. What would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
It was 10 years ago. I would have had a 3-year-old.
3-year-old?
And a baby. Or pregnant, depending on how many, like, because I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this is hard because I don't know if I would have ever listened. Like, I don't know if.
Everybody, their first response is, well, first I would tell them to listen.
Yeah.
But if she would listen.
If I could truly teach her something, it would be that unshaming lesson. And I think that's about the time that I started to learn that. I think that's when I started realizing that's when I needed to understand at a fundamental level that I wasn't broken. Because I think around 24, 25 was about the age that I realized I like looked around and went like, I have everything I've ever wanted. Yeah. Everything I ever, like my life looks exactly like I wanted it to. Yeah. Why do I still wake up every day and think, when am I gonna have that testimony moment? Right. When am I gonna wake up and feel like an adulty adult? Like, when am I gonna stop feeling like shit, essentially? Like, when am I gonna wake up and feel good? And I was chasing, I think I had been sold this version of adulthood or even just healing. Like I'd wake up one day and I wouldn't be me. Yeah. And if I could tell her anything, it's that I will, like, this is you. This is you, but actually, like, that's a really good thing. Yeah, like,
and that's good. Yeah.
This is making me tear up because, like, truly, like, the way I see myself now, I'm like, okay, do I love every part of me? No, there's some really cringy,
same,
not wonderful parts of me. Like, and I'm pretty aware of them, unfortunately.
Yes, same.
Fortunately and unfortunately. But like, I think of now and I'm just like, I could have missed out. I really
Yes.
did. I missed out on so many years hating myself,
Mm-hmm.
hating my body, hating my identity, hating my lack of talents because I only saw talent as what other people had that I didn't. It's a
Yeah.
little bit of that like
Yes.
foreline because I
Yes.
was so
Yep.
unhealthy.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But like now I look at myself and I'm like, I have so many talents that other people are like, Becca, how do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just innate.
I just
I
do.
just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's just who
And
I
isn't
am.
that cool? Yeah.
And yes, I developed that. And yes, I had to bring maturity and skill set to it. I had to develop some of those things. But
Yes.
like there are parts and pieces of me that I see now that I'm like, oh my gosh, like and it breaks my heart when I hear women hating themselves or their bodies because I
Yeah.
just think you would never tolerate that abuse towards anybody else.
No.
And yet I mean, it's heavy. Like that
Yeah.
shit's heavy. So if I could teach her that, if I could like not just have her hear it, but have her
Actually
like
give it
know
to
it,
her. Yeah.
that because I think that's what changed everything. That was
Yeah.
the foundation that changed everything. And healing is understanding that it's not escaping myself. It's not that I'm going to out heal who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's that I'm going to learn how to have a different relationship to it, to my humanity, to my story, to the good parts of me, my strengths, to my weaknesses. Like, how do I show up to those parts and pieces of me that, like, they're still not like the best, but like, can I own them different? Can I respond and relate?
Yeah, they're
Can I
you.
communicate them? Can I get those needs met in different ways?
Right.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, if I could know that, man, 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
What a change. Well, that was a great answer. Thank you for being here. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much at the Motherhood Mentor everywhere.
Okay.
Instagram, I have a podcast, and yeah, I love hearing from people and actually connecting. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear people's like aha moments, what they loved, but yeah, at that Motherhood Mentor, which is funny because I created that because I didn't want my name because I didn't want to have to like, I don't know, I didn't want my name to be a brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then one time someone was like, oh, it's the Motherhood Mentor. And I was like, no, that's my business. That's not like, I don't call myself that.
Yeah, the motherhood. Right.
It's a practitioner role that I do sometimes, which is so funny that like sometimes when I'm like the Motherhood Mentor, I'm like, that's not, I don't announce.
I promise it's not weird. Yeah.
Which is the part of me that doesn't want to be prideful.
Yeah. I understand. I mean, I have there's this whole thing in threes, like everyone thinks we're shiny and show offy, and we are, but there's also this big, like, I don't want to be seen as someone who wants to be shiny and show offy, right? Yeah, exactly. So I would do the same. Like, I was like, I can't go by my name. Then people think that you're someone who wants to go by their name, Anyway, we come up with a lot of weird things to say to ourselves.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny when you say the things that paralyze you out loud and you think that is ridiculous, and yet I'm like judging myself and spiraling.
It is so stupid. It is so stupid. Anyone who's
silly.
ever come to one of my classes knows that my line that I say probably at least once a class is like, I hate saying this out loud. Partly because I don't want to admit it, but also because it sounds stupid. Like, it's actually not that big of a deal when you say it out loud.
Which is why I love the Enneagram, because I think it takes all these parts and pieces of us and it says it out loud.
Right.
In the open, and then you go,
and then actually it's not that bad. Yeah, people are like, oh, me too. You're like, you too.
Yeah,
right.
It's what I love about Enneagram.
Same. All right, well, thank you, Rebecca. This was lovely.
Yes, thank you.